He black.
Everybody's using that every time they see me at church.
Right?
That's
In a
like
live
the
chat, it's
saying.
always
Like, he black.
black.
They see me
Joel's
at
black.
church, they just say he black.
I guess this is the first time we've officially done this, so there's going to be like awkward pauses,
Yes.
inappropriate flirting, and controversial content, so viewers be warned. So I guess the reason we've done this podcast, what's the podcast name again?
She black.
He white. And
Actually, no, wait. It's she white, he black.
yeah, because they did it originally. We were going to do it in another studio, and they did a massive typo, and
They
me
did.
being me, I was like, that's actually quite funny.
Yeah.
So they're saying I'm black and you're white.
Yeah. It was an accident.
Do you agree with that though?
People call me an Oreo, so I don't know.
What, like white on the inside, black on the outside?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say inversed,
Well,
because the
you know
inverse
what?
ones don't quite make sense.
no, they don't. They are Oreos like that, though, aren't they?
I think so. I don't know what the white stuff in it is, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to have like a
weird.
obsession with Oreos, and then I kind of went
Now
back to
they
custard creams.
started making like strawberry Oreos, and you're like, nah.
Yeah, that contradicts the whole point. Why do you want to put
Exactly.
strawberry in there when it's always, what was it, white and black combined, like Michael Jackson, right?
Yes.
They don't matter if they're black or white. So as you can see, we don't really take ourselves too seriously. So
No.
if anybody's listening to this, don't take yourself too seriously.
This is
either.
also not meant to be like a preachy kind of thing. It's not meant
what
to
are you
be.
going on about? It is. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves.
We're trying to
This
change
is a
the world.
This is a woke podcast.
Yes.
And we want to represent to all the strong people out there on the street right now. Word up. No, in all seriousness, no. We kind of put this together like quite spontaneously because we feel like we're losing the ability to laugh.
Yeah. About
and-
stuff
Yeah.
in general.
And we should be able to laugh at anything, I think, within reason.
Exactly.
I think, okay, here's a question. Do you think there is like a certain subject that should never be used for comedy?
No.
Me either. I don't care, like,
People are getting too offended by everything these days. Seriously.
Example?
For example, in the cab, this guy was telling me like, yeah, but it's because you're a black woman. And I was like, yeah. And I laughed about it.
Well, that's good.
And we laughed. You know, I don't remember what he was talking about, but
Oh, that's not a good sign.
I
then.
wasn't
So you're being
offended.
ignorant as well as...
no, it's maybe because I wasn't listening. But you don't have to get offended by everything.
No. Well, should we say about what happened the other day when we were walking down the street?
Yes.
So we listened to this guy in America. His name's called Jesse Lee Peterson. And some people will say he's far right and all that stuff, but he black.
Fundamentalist.
That's all he is. He black.
Yeah.
And he has so many quotable things. Like day to day, like I find myself saying
Lesbians!
or
Amazing.
You know, every which way, and people don't understand why I'm saying it, which makes me sound that worse than usual.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm white.
But
I've got
if you
white
know
privilege
where
and
it
that.
comes from, it's funny.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. Maybe it's not to others, but you know, other opinions are available.
It's funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's better. Insert jump cut.
Come on.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So I guess we were walking down the street. I
I was being very expressive.
very expressive with the hands. And did I talk to the dude or did he talk to us? I can't recall.
He says, excuse me, because, you know, I was doing that and he couldn't pass. You know, coronavirus, like, let's not touch.
No, the Chinese virus.
Oh, yeah.
China.
China.
Yeah, let's get it right.
Yes. So he
China.
was walking and I nearly bumped into his face with my hand.
It's
And he
a
goes,
common
excuse me. And I was like,
occurrence.
oh, I'm so sorry. I felt really bad for what happened. And then I was like, I'm so sorry. I can just be very expressive with my hands and all that. And he goes, no, don't worry. It's fine. And then
I
you
said
said,
I said this because she black.
yeah. And then it was so funny because you could see his face. We started laughing.
We laughed.
His
he wasn't
face
laughing.
was just
he wasn't
like,
laughing at all. He was dead
what?
serious.
He was offended on my behalf.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to be.
No,
Like,
that's the white thing at the moment. It's the white
yeah, it's the
victimhood
white.
complex.
It's the white thing
It's
at the
a great
moment. Because
thing.
if a white person is not offended for a non-white person, then they're privileged.
White's always offended.
But yes,
If
and he was
they
like,
care about something, that is.
yeah. But a few seconds later, he was like, no, it's because she's a woman, and that was extremely.
Which was
funny.
even worse than what I said.
True. But we all laughed about it because we know it's not meant to be offensive, and we're just laughing. It's a normal day. It was a good day. Nobody's trying to offend anyone. It was funny.
I just had Ice Cube's
Right?
song in my head then when you said that. So yeah, I guess like, you know, in the notes like we wrote,
Yeah.
we said we're kind of wanting to unite on the common grounds that we have as people,
Exactly.
because that's getting harder to do. Like, I mean, like
our
for
common
example,
humanity.
yeah, like for example, like we met via like social media and stuff, so we are quite relatively new to each other.
Yes.
So when we first started speaking, like, was there like a filter that you had in place when we started talking,
No,
or
not
was it just,
really.
it was quite free, wasn't it?
It was free. And for me, honestly, that's how I select my friends. Is like, okay, I'm just gonna be me.
Not because like I'm handsome,
Oh,
quarter
shut
Italian.
Part Italian.
Yeah, but I haven't got my business cards today, which say white privilege on it on the
Yeah,
front, and on the back
that's the
it says
thing.
he black. I'm joking. That don't exist.
But yes. I might say, you know what? I may have been drawn by the fact that you said you were Italian.
Yeah, obviously, because you know what that came to fruition, right? I was I used to work at Apple before I got fired. It's a whole other story for another day. And this guy came up to me, and he, like, well, before the store opened, we was doing like an early shift, and he's like, you know what, like, you should like totally like use the whole Italian thing. I was like, yeah, but I've only got a little bit of Italian. He's like, it doesn't matter, just say you're Italian and you watch
Yeah.
what happens. And it works.
It works.
Even if it's like, it's not really a half truth. It is a truth.
It is a
It's like
truth.
my ancestors come from like Naples and stuff, but
See,
like my
say di Napoli.
yeah, well, you can, you know, do all the whole Rome thing because you lived in Rome for ages. I've lived in Southeast London the whole of my life, hence why I went from a wigger to white privilege. So both for no
Yep.
good. There's no positive thing there.
I should be like,
Yeah, so it's a
also
white
Southern Italian. You know what they say about them, like
no.
dangerous people.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So maybe the
Especially people from Naples.
Why? What happens in Naples?
Gangs. And
I thought that was in Gomorrah.
no, it's part of it. Like there's a
See, the Italians now pissed off with me because
Napolitan.
they don't know.
You see, they don't know. Napolitan cartel or something.
All
Okay.
all the Sopranos.
Okay, back. But you're blacker than I am, though.
What makes you say I'm blacker than you are? Because technically you have black skin and I have whatever this is on me.
Whatever that is on you.
It's like
Pale.
Hellraiser. Like I came up from the floor and I just turned out this way.
Yeah. Okay. You're blacker than me because you just are.
Yeah,
Like,
but
the
that
way
doesn't
you
make sense. So
talk.
if I take
The
that,
way you talk.
if
Okay.
I clip that for social media, and they're going to go, what is she saying? Like,
Yeah,
he hasn't
true.
once said anything in here to interstate what she's saying.
Because you listen to music that most people, I would think, is like was marketed to
Marketed.
black people.
Okay, give me an example.
should
What
say.
kind of music is marketed to black
Like,
people? Let's keep
like
digging.
Tupac kind of music. You're so
Tupac.
into Tupac.
Yeah, I'm into
You know what I
Tupac.
mean? You're writing a book on
Yeah.
it.
Well, script more like it. Let's get it
Oh,
right.
I thought it
We
was-
can't really announce that yet, but yeah, I'm trying
Well,
to get a
you cut
HBO
that
series
out.
off the ground. No, I'll keep it in.
Okay.
Get some buzz building with the Tupac fans.
Exactly.
But yeah, no,
So,
I
but
want
that's
to
the
do a
thing
show
is
based
like
about
you
it.
appreciate a lot of black music, especially music from the 80s
Yeah, and
right?
the 70s. Don't forget the 70s.
and the 70s, of
yeah,
course,
all that
of
stuff.
course.
It's all good.
Early
Like
90s,
blues.
maybe. No, rubbish.
Well, I wouldn't say it's rubbish. I mean, like early 90s, there's like Terence Trent D'Arby and people like Matt. What's the guy who made Return of the Mac? Mark Morrison, whatever his name is.
I
So
don't know.
you know, it was more kind of like Def Jam, like emulating that kind of like Michael Jackson, dangerous
Yeah.
vibe.
Exactly.
Like trip hop and stuff like that.
So
but
you listen to that
So
kind
the
of-
80s and the 60s and even the 70s. That's where you get the real fire.
Exactly. And I'm more Mumford and Sons, indie rock kind of Johnny Swim.
I don't know who Johnny Swim is. I know
It's-
Adult Swim, but I
No,
don't know who Johnny Swim
no.
is. Who is Johnny Swim?
It's a duo, a couple, a musical couple.
And
Amazing
what
music.
do they sing?
Like alternative.
Yeah, but
kinda
give me an
rock.
example
I
of it.
don't know. Listen.
The freestyle.
No. I don't actually know any of their songs specifically. I listen to them on like my playlists.
She's really selling it right now.
Do you know what? You should listen to Fools as well. Is it UFO by Fools? Yeah, it's a really good song.
Hey, wait,
But-
you call me a fool?
Sometimes you can be.
I'm always a
Anyway,
fool. I'm a silly
but-
arsehole, remember?
Yes, you are.
It's my nickname.
It's your
Hi, Sarah.
musician's name. But the thing is, though, you are blacker than I am.
Okay, we're
Like
just...
you know more about black culture honestly, than I do. I'm a third culture kind of kid.
Likoji. I'm whiter than he is.
Well, my friends have always called me that, so, and I do offend a lot of people.
Yeah. So
Just because I just don't share the same views as them.
what views do you share? Because this would be a good segue.
For example, are we talking about that in this episode though?
It's entirely up to you. I mean, you can give them a little bit, and then in later episodes go full.
So I don't
supremacist.
agree with supporting the Black Lives Matter movement.
How dare you? No, you black. You should support it.
Exactly. This is sinful. But that's the thing. It's like it's become this religion type of situation where you can't, they have what you can and cannot say. And so if I say that BLM is just, perpetuating more division, people are like, why are you speaking against your own people? And then others will be like, you know what, whatever, you don't understand because you don't come from a black oppressed background.
Yeah, so where are you from again?
Africa.
Mummy, Africa. So in theory, you would have more knowledge than say like the Americans that are in the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, in some sense. And the funniest thing is a lot of them will be like, with apartheid in South Africa, this and that happened. And you're like, you know nothing. We had to learn American history, European history, because, apparently for us to break the glass ceiling.
That's a common ground at the moment, specifically for women.
We have to learn everybody else's culture. You know what I mean? And their history for us to be able to go to the same universities that everybody else does.
Okay.
Because, the blacks were colonized and left behind during the independence movements, and they let us educate ourselves.
Which, by the way, if you've noticed, guys, because I am the white guy on this podcast, I'm not doing the lecturing on this stuff. That's when I pull my white card.
Exactly. You're a white privileged man, so you have no opinion here.
No, I'm quite small as well, so don't beat me up, guys.
Oh, Lord. Crazy. But that's another thing. It's like, why should you not have an opinion just because you're a white man? Even though, people are like canceling white men, saying, this we're going to talk about a lot of this in our podcast.
Oh, of course, yeah. So if you're offended, this would be the point you zone out. Just
turn it off. And that's
you're like, I ain't listen to this. She black and she hate her skin. That's why she says she's Oreo.
If you think that, then just turn it off and you don't need to listen to us. But I do say, let's normalize having differences of opinions.
Yeah.
And staying friends.
Well, I think one thing we are losing more and more in the day and age we live in is this ability to have differences of opinion.
Exactly.
And accept that. Like, I don't know, but I'll just give an example. Like when I was in the 90s and I was a little kid, like the very first time I went to primary school and I was crying like a little beta because I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay home with mummy. Out of wedlock birth and all that jazz. So it's not just the blacks that have the out of wedlock stuff. It happens to whites as well and everybody other people. So like I went into the classroom, I was crying my ass off, and these two kids come up to me. One was black, one was Sikh, and they were like, "What are you crying for?" And I was like, "I want to go home." And they're like, here's a computer. Do you want to come play? And like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
so it's like, even back then, like, that's one of the best things about being a kid. And this is a great segue, actually, because when you're a kid, you don't,
really
I think
care.
you don't really care about the color. You don't really define that, because you just see another kid.
No.
And I don't know about you, but like, I feel that, that there's a particular movie that's come out this week.
Yes.
Which is the talk of the town. Let's be honest, across the whole of the world, good or bad. I'm not going to try and attempt to say the woman's name because I will butcher it, because I'm white and
I'm black, I can say it.
Okay, well,
I'm African black. Okay, and I can't say it.
Yeah,
so
boy.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. So, but let's just say this is a movie called Cuties. So, do you want to go into, I guess, what the initial controversy is, or should I?
Okay, let me say it, because I'm the female.
Okay, you pull out the female privilege for a moment.
Yes. So, Cuties was created on the premise of, according to the director, according to what she said in her interview. You can watch it. It's there on Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix Film Club YouTube channel.
She says she wanted to help young people understand that they don't have to succumb to the social pressures of trying to be a certain way. So it's a coming of age story where she's trying to show how the world sexualizes young people.
Let's be very clear, I think that's a very good idea.
It is actually, because you find, for example, Kylie Kardashian was injecting her lips, and then she said she wasn't, but then later on said she was.
Yeah.
And you find children stinging their lips, trying to make them look bigger and more plump.
Stinging them with what?
I think bee stings or something,
like
or whatever they were doing, and using other chemicals. I think you can use other chemicals to try and make your lips look more plump.
That's really crazy.
I
didn't
know,
even know that happened.
But girls have been doing that. Also taping, I think it's taping their upper lip a little bit here, like that, so that it can come up and look like it's a full lip.
That's
They've
horrific.
been doing that. My cousin tried to do it, which was sad.
That would have been a very interesting conversation.
She's black and she's got very nice lips. So, like, why should she do that? But she felt forced. It's what social media does. Now.
But is it, before we even jump into that, is it really social media forcing it, or is it actually just that
current
people
culture?
In general and current culture is saying that that's the expectation?
I think it is. And social media just drives it forward. That's the thing. How are you going to spread news? Social media. How are you going to spread ideas?
Do we even read
media.
the news, or do we just read the headline?
We read the headline.
Well, to be fair, I only read the headline of this, and then I had to see the trailer and make my decision.
And that's the thing. I saw this on Instagram when they released the trailer, and people were like, "Ooh, this looks like you're trying to sexualize young people." So she went and defended the trailer and said it was taken out of context.
Oh no, Netflix said that.
She did too.
Yeah, I've only ever heard Netflix's statement, which was like, the poster is a mistake. It doesn't represent the film necessarily.
Yes.
We are going to try and rectify that, etc., etc. And then they also retracted the synopsis of the film, which originally was hinting at it was a sexual liberating movie of an 11-year-old rated at the time as an MA in America, which is mature.
You see, the director says Netflix was at fault for, she did say that. She said Netflix, put it out of context and made it seem like she was doing something that she wasn't. You understand?
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Which is funny because I've seen the film and so have you, and it's definitely not out of context.
It's not out of context
with
what the film is.
Whether that's good or bad.
This is a quote from her. I got this from an article on Refinery 29. And she says, unfortunately, people didn't have the right information. Well, the movie was released last week. We saw it
this
together.
Week, in theory, but it's going to come out next week, so yeah.
Yeah. And what did you think about it? Do you think it was
I don't really know where to start, to be honest.
Do you believe what she said is what she did in the film?
So are you asking me as a filmmaker or as someone that enjoys film?
I'm asking you, one, as a filmmaker, two, as a man.
Okay.
Because honestly, I feel like as a female myself, I watched this film. I was very disgusted that it was a lady director that did this.
I'd be interested if the backlash would be the same, or if not
if it
worse,
was a male
if it was a
director.
man
I think it
director.
would be worse.
I think it'd be worse
I
as well.
don't think people would accept, because there's a certain camp of people who are like, oh, this is amazing.
Most of which are men, by the way.
They're pretty hot. That's the whole point of the movie, is that you're supposed to be sitting there thinking, look at the blonde one.
But I don't think an 11-year-old can twerk. Her hips are not grown enough.
That's up for debate, but I guess because some 11-year-olds will be like, hey, I can twerk like that. That's why this film was made for me. Which it isn't, by the way, because the film's rated 15.
But they're going to watch it, though. They're going to watch it.
Well, unless their
a 15-year-old is not going to stick to the kids' profile
but let's
on
put
Netflix.
it this way. Let's put it this way. I'll be interested if that is actually in the kids section, but I doubt it is.
Couldn't be.
I reckon. But to be fair, who really puts parental control on the Netflix?
I do, for my little nephews and nieces.
See, this is why I don't have kids, and my life is so much more, so much more. It
is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But then I pay for Netflix, and when they're irritating me, I just put it for them. But then I have to put parental controls, because then I'm responsible for whatever they see there, because I'm allowing them to watch my Netflix.
Okay, interesting.
You get what I mean?
So you want my thoughts?
Yes, your thoughts on the film.
Right. So
As
as an
a
artist,
filmmaker,
as an artiste first,
Yeah.
think any idea should be explored, even if it is morally repugnant.
And controversial.
I come from a love of horror, so like for years I've had to defend films online that people don't agree with.
Yes.
Because they think it's nasty, vice versa, etc., etc. But the common argument I have is it's a horror film. What did you expect? Exactly. Horror is meant to make you feel uncomfortable, be repulsed and offended, and that's the reason why, for me, not going off subject, but this will link. Trust me, it will. Horror is a genre where you can toy with the norms.
Yes.
In a way where you can take it to the biggest extreme, and in most times, not all, but most. To quote from Jesse. They are quite conservative. Like, if you really think of a horror movie, what usually happens? Bunch of teens have premarital sex, get killed by, masked maniac.
They're mostly always white.
And they're white. And then the blacks also get. Let's get it right. The blacks always get killed first.
Always.
Unless
the white person in the horror is the one who's always like, they hear a noise and they go, hello. Black people would be like, nah, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Bye. But the white dumb person would be like, who's there?
Well, I didn't like Get Out, but at the same time, at least they acted like normal people to a certain extent.
I didn't like it either.
But we'll go on to that review bit. But with this movie, I feel unfair in a sense that when I started watching it, I had a lot of preconceived notions going into this because I'd seen the posters, I'd seen the trailer, and the trailer already was setting alarm bells off for me from some of the choices of angles. Yes. But I thought I'll give the benefit of the doubt.
Let's see it.
And I watched it, and how can I say, for every moment I wanted to give the film faith and go, okay, this could be going somewhere quite interesting. It was not even disappointing. It gives up any other subplot in favor of pushing images of young 11-year-olds dressed in leather pants and things like this, twerking in front of the camera. And don't get me wrong, if I was directing the film, and this is going to sound really problematic, if you were going to include those scenes, you would use one angle and leave it at that angle and maybe jump cut or something like that. Because in theory then, your argument would be, well, it's their perspective, they're the ones shooting it themselves, or even if they're the one picking the camera up themselves and moving it, etc. And we know that it's them moving it. It's a very different situation to what's in the film at the moment, which is really creepy. I don't know who's a camera operating the camera, but whomever it is all up in every area of this person.
Who's this movie made for?
You see,
is the thing.
But it can't be made for the target audience because the film is a 15, or in America it's an 18 in theory. It's too graphic for children to watch.
So it's not made for
So it's
girls.
not made for kids. So really, this is made for adults that want to have a wank over 11-year-old kids. Let's be completely bluntly honest.
It's made for the male gaze.
Or is it made for the male gaze, or is it made for people, and this is probably the most controversial thing I'm going to say on the podcast so far, or is it made for a certain subculture that, I'm not saying pedophiles, I'm talking about specific cultures that are pushing agendas, things like specifically the LGBT movement, where you have kids that are dressing up as drag queens. You've got kids who are 5 years old going to a library listening to a drag queen tell stories and gyrating and learning how to twerk. And don't get me wrong,
normalising.
Don't get me wrong, I have nothing wrong with anybody in the LGBT community. I have a lot of friends actually who are actually really, really fun to hang out with and stuff. But not to my knowledge, not even they would
agree with
what's going on there, because you're crossing lines that don't need to be crossed.
Can we let children be children?
Yeah, but let's give the benefit of the doubt again for this film. Let's say, in theory, these scenes happen. They don't have to shoot these scenes. They can infer that they're happening.
Exactly.
They can do things like through shadows. They can get body doubles in if they want to do that, and or they can cast up. Like, for instance, all the while I was watching the movie, I felt like the characters necessarily didn't need to be 11 years old.
No, they didn't.
The story would have made more sense if she was 15 or 16 or even 18, whatever. And her character, the main character, Amy or whatever her name is, she was
Aminata.
I have no idea. All I know for me watching it, I was sitting there thinking, I don't buy that you're making such a leap of faith that quickly.
Yes.
It's almost like the film is missing 20
forced.
to 50 minutes of
exactly,
and instead it's just okay, move.
Do you know, I mentioned that to my cabbie.
Yeah.
On the way here.
Has he seen
it? No, he hasn't.
Good.
And he's almost 60. And I told him what the film is about. And he goes, what? And I told him my problems with it. The plot holes, it just felt forced. It felt like if this was for a 15-year-old coming of age story, I could buy it, you know. But
also, what 11-year-old is taking pictures of their vagina?
What 11-year-old does that?
And uploading it on social media.
Also, what 11-year-old knows how to hack a phone?
Yeah, like there's no password protection, there's no Apple ID, and I used to work for Apple, remember? So when I started watching it, I was like, that ain't gonna happen.
Exactly.
if that dude's lost his phone, he's gonna be able to find my iPhone on his iPad or his Mac. He's going to look for it, and it's gonna disable quite quickly, and it's gonna let out a loud alert. But instead, she's downloading apps, which she can't do because Apple ID requires you to have. Do you know what
it felt like? She was trying to push a certain narrative, and she was disregarding content in this film.
Yeah, this is the problem. Like, you hear her narrative, like in her saying that, you know, it's meant to be a film about the sexualization of children. But she is sexualizing the children in the process of making this statement, whilst also claiming it's feminist.
How is it feminist? You see, I don't...
It's feminist because she attacks a white kid who slaps her bum. Let's be honest, and he's white as well.
Oh, don't forget that scene where... Oh, are we spoiling?
I don't think anybody's going to watch this film.
Okay.
If they haven't already seen it.
Don't forget the scene where they get out of trouble because they dance for 2 security guards.
Oh, yeah. So you have the sort of the Arab guy who's like really like understanding, but telling them like, look, you need to leave. And then one of them's like, look, you're raping me, you get off of me.
He said, I'm going to call the police because you were here illegally.
That's the sound of the police.
I'm going to call the police, and you don't have reason to be here. You don't even have tickets.
She's got into this laser. Yeah, they've gone into a laser tag with no tickets. They just wandered into the place.
And so he says, I'm going to call the police, and he's about to call them, and so they start to scream like
bloody murder, basically.
Yeah, rape, you're touching us. And another security guard comes over.
Who's he white?
He's white.
But like he legit looks like a paedophile. Let's be honest. I would be interested in the credits if they credit him as white paedophile. And the thing
is, the Arab guy was like super clean and, you know, looked proper.
He looked like a stand-up dude. Let's be real.
And the white guy comes over and he looks like the one who is a perv.
He's like, and when they start dancing, he's like,
Exactly. Yeah, and so they start to dance and gyrate. Yeah. And they got good news. I don't want to spoil the film, but they got good news and they start to dance and scream and all that. And you could see in the eyes of the white guy, he was like,
yeah, I want to get up in that.
Exactly.
I don't care how old you are, but I'm going to get up in that.
Exactly. And then a switch sort of flips in his mind and he goes, no, let's let these girls just go.
Well, I don't even think they even say that. They just run. Like they get.
No, they were let out.
Oh, well, they let out.
Yeah,
my mistake. But what I don't understand with that scene is what the message I take from that is: if you're a woman at any point in today's society,
you could use your body.
No, not even to use your body. That's not even the obvious point. The obvious point is let's just cry rape, so that then if someone ever does get raped, no one's going to believe them for the sheer fact that we're trivializing rape.
Exactly.
This is why I just don't understand with this. It's like every time you try to give it like the benefit of the doubt,
the film
it shoots you in the back of the head and reminds you that you shouldn't be taking this film seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst scene for me, the only redeeming quality for me in this movie is this one scene.
Which one?
It's the point where the guy's like, yeah, where's my phone? Like, you've got my phone, vice versa and stuff. And then she tries to strip for him and try to... And this dude is her cousin as well, bearing in mind.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, like, okay, this chick is 11 years old. She's never once been hit on in this movie.
No.
And she's then suddenly, like, taking off her clothes to this guy. But then, like I said, I was so happy that the one normal guy in this movie was like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
But then this doesn't even make sense. So she then runs into the toilet with the phone, removes her panties to take a picture of her vagina, then uploads it to social media. Now let's just go one step at a time here. So if she does that, 11-year-old girl, and uploads that picture, say Instagram, the first thing that gets reported is breach of child indecency, nudity guidelines, vice versa. That film never addresses that. But also, it comes from his phone. So is he now going to get arrested for child pedophilia?
Because they're going to find images on his
phone. It's an 11-year-old's vagina. And they're going to know it's an 11-year-old's vagina by the close up.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be developed to say like an 18-year-old or 25-year-olds. So that's already complete
problematic
bullshit. Let's be honest, it's a complete lie. And then you've got even a more problematic moment where it's like, okay, she's stabbing a white kid with a pen in his hand. Doesn't get
she doesn't get punished.
Doesn't get excluded. No, nothing. And then I'm meant to feel bad for the mum slapping her in the face because she's acting out.
But why does the mum even go beat her when I do feel like there's so much lost in this film? I don't know if there is another cut of the film. Maybe there's images and scenes that were cut out. We don't know. But what we saw was just very disconnected.
Well, the whole film is like going at 100 miles an hour. Like, if anything, when I watch French movies, like I'll give an example, like a film like Timbuktu, which I don't know if it exactly is French, but I'm using Timbuktu specifically for an example because it's I believe it's a French language movie about a bunch of Islamic terrorists that take over a small African town. The movie's like 2.5 hours and it tells multiple stories of how this affects this one thing. And the thing what's beautiful about it is it combines all different perspectives on the one situation.
Yeah.
It has some really, truly beautiful, breathtaking moments with children. So, for example, the Islamic State people that are overtaking the place, they confiscate the footballs. So rather than that kill their innocence, they pretend to play football without the ball. And this is an incredible scene. Like it's cut together like a proper football match. Everyone's working with it and stuff. And then obviously Islamic State find out about it, and then they don't really know how to police that because it's the willpower of children.
Yes.
The children using the darkest of circumstances and finding light. And then and that's why, again, if this is a story about children, like the Cuties film, why is it that every instance of the movie you're trying to not let them be children?
Exactly.
There's maybe 1 or 2 moments where they become children again, like the bit with the condom.
Yeah.
Or when they're talking about a guy pissing in the girl's mouth or something because they think that's how they have sex. Those small things are like, okay, got a bit of nuance there. That's nice, that's good. But then when they're gyrating and like the thing that I really don't understand, you got to stop me waffling here.
Okay.
Is like they're the 3 girls.
The thing is, I'm enjoying it.
Oh, okay, well that's fine. We'll go over that. There's the bits where prior to her being in this gang,
yes,
they bully her, vice versa, but they know how to dance. So then you're
all of a sudden
she watches.
She's the one teaching them how to twerk.
Yeah, watching a Cardi B video.
Her little butt.
Yeah, like and
suggestively.
It's not even suggestively. It is literally full blown softcore pornography.
True, but I mean, they're not moving their butts on anything but the floor, and you're like, how would you know how to do those things?
Yeah,
woman.
Off the base of
little girl.
One video.
So I won't even call her a woman. Scratch that. She's not a woman.
She's not even a child. She's not even a teenager.
Baby.
She's not even a teenager. She's 11.
11.
Again, if 13, 14, 15, it might be a different story. I'm not saying it's right, but it might be a very different story to an 11-year-old. It makes sense because in high school, 11.
In high school, think about it. In high school, your body is developing. Your hormones are going all over the place, and you start to want to explore. Now, 11, yes, some people do develop younger. But I mean, there was no reason, like the film didn't give any of that sort of content. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I said.
It just skipped and said, oh, this girl wants to, there wasn't even like a crush or anything that could have sparked her sexual awakening or whatever.
No, she didn't have a thing for
like
a boy, or she didn't accidentally watch porn, or
no,
it was nothing. It was just
there was nothing. There was nothing to trigger her rebellion.
But what about this then? So she's in the mosque, and she's completely covered from head to toe with a mobile phone playing softcore pornography music videos, and no one is wondering why is this girl covered up from top to bottom?
Exactly.
With like almost like in like a kind of ghost sheet. Like,
it doesn't make sense.
And no one's questioning that. Like if I was in that mosque, I'd be like, take that off.
Like what's happening with that girl there?
Yeah, why is she doing it? And that she's in the center of the room.
Yes.
It's not like she's in the corner. She's in the center of the room.
Next to her mum.
Exactly. This is where the directing is terrible. It's terrible. It has no moral ground to die on.
Do you know? Can I read a quote for you?
Yeah, please do.
Because I read in an article.
I was going to see if we could touch upon the most disturbing bit of the film before we move in.
So, the director herself, okay,
Yep.
says when she was looking for girls to play these people, especially the main character Aminata, she was scared she wouldn't find people who, you know, would understand what's going on, and she wanted them to understand that the reason they were going to make a film like this was in order for the facilitation of important conversations to be had. So she's basically telling these girls that I'm going to use you in order to start conversations out there. And she told them
So she's corrupting their
that,
innocence.
yes, she says, I wanted the actresses to know the real activism that this movie was coming from and the feminist ideology it represented.
So what is that then? So you're 11 years old.
And you can do whatever you want.
You can do
with your
whatever you
body.
want. You can push young girls into the sea and nearly kill them for the sake of it. Is that feminist?
You can rebel against your mother because
you can
for no reason.
You can neglect your brother and
right
and you know,
and let him nearly drown in the bathtub.
Yeah, because you want to hang out with Mini Ocasio-Cortez.
Exactly.
It's so problematic. And then the thing that really you're going to need to bleep this, that really fucked me off in this movie is they have the bollocks to sit there in the last 6 minutes of the movie and have this incredibly long pornographic dance sequence and then claim the moral high ground that her friends are the problem and not her. She was the one that gave them the routine. She was the one that was pushing for all of it. She broke the friendship group up.
Yes.
And now you're telling me I should have sympathy for this girl?
She was the one wanting them to look more sexual. Because let's not get this wrong. They were gyrating before. They couldn't do it very well.
Not to the extent of what they are in this.
It was, I think at first what I found a problem was their clothing. The clothing was very not school friendly.
Yeah, and the school's completely fine with it. No other kid in the school dresses like that.
And they were quite rude to people.
Yeah.
Adults.
Yeah.
That was my problem. And
they weren't likable.
No, they weren't likable.
I'm not saying they have to be likable, but
no, and it kind of makes sense. Like they're
pieces of shit. They're kids.
They were bitches.
Kids are terrible. I was a piece of shit when I was a kid.
There is a book that calls children assholes. I think it's on Amazon. I saw it somewhere.
Well, let's plug that and hopefully they'll give us a sponsorship.
Anyway, but point is, there was no reason for her to behave the way she did.
No, there isn't. But then she's feminist. And there's an agenda to be pushed.
Yeah. And you can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
You're female. I do feel like there was a race issue aspect to it as well. Why wasn't the story done from maybe one of the white girls' perspective?
I tell you why it wasn't, and this isn't a controversial thing to say.
Sorry, before you go on, I do understand that she was trying to tell a story from her perspective as a Senegalese Muslim immigrant in France growing up.
Yeah, she even insults her own religion with this film.
She does, actually, a lot.
Given what she does to her auntie at the end of the film, or whatever. But
anyway, why didn't she try and do it from that kind of perspective, a white girl's perspective?
Because it's been done.
It has been done.
There's too many white girl movies.
The thing is, she didn't use. I feel like she was trying to tell multiple stories.
Yeah, it's
in
not
this
focused.
film.
It's definitely not focused,
including maybe child marriage in Africa.
What about Africa? What about the possession sequence?
Oh yeah.
And again, what's the camera? What's the camera doing in that sequence? All up in the arse crack again.
Yes. And how she was moving. I'm sorry, but if somebody is being, delivered of demons or whatever, they're not going to be moving like that.
No, you know what I mean? It's like interpretive theatre dancing.
Yeah, but it was very sexual. Come across,
very sexual. But again, this is my point with this movie. How can I put this in the most polite way possible? Right, so the filmmaker has essentially remade her previous short film.
Yeah.
Like when you read that she's only made one other film and it read
about the film?
Almost like for like the same, except for the whole...
I wonder who funded it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people in the beginning of the credits. But the thing is, a lot of people are saying, you should cancel Netflix and stuff. Technically, it isn't Netflix that produced this movie.
No, it's just distributing
What happened was that they screened this at Sundance. And again, this is just the filmmaker in me. You take a film to a film festival, and usually 9 out of 10 times you get someone pick it up and be like, okay, we're going to put it out there. Like the film Host that came out recently, which is an actual really decent horror movie by, I know one of the people, Radina, in the film. She's a really, really talented actor. I'm so happy for them for the sheer fact that it's a 56-minute movie set in COVID-19 lockdown, possession type movie, all shot, on Zoom. Now that sounds pretty boring, but they made it work really on so many levels. Now that movie got picked up by Shudder, which is like one of the biggest horror on-demand services in the world. I think it's co-funded by Blumhouse, the people that do stuff like The Purge and
I wouldn't know.
and The Hunt and all these sort of movies. Yeah. Well, they've now got a free film deal with the producer who did Spider-Man, things like that, Sam Raimi, guy who did Evil Dead. So they made that 56-minute movie, got picked up, distributed, and now they're moving on to bigger and better things. So it does happen. But the reason this film won an award at Sundance is because if you do a bit of research, the festival director likes children and is now in jail.
That's the thing, though.
So it all kind of becomes a bit clear.
I do feel like a lot of the people that like this film have no problem with child pornography.
No, they don't. Like every review you read, oh, it's a far right thing. It's this and that. It's got nothing to do with politics. It's simply, if anything, the most beautiful thing initially when the backlash started, and I'm not for cancel culture or anything, was that everybody
cancel
from
culture should be cancelled.
Definitely, but everyone from every single different belief system and everything all believed this is wrong.
This is wrong,
and it is.
I don't
wrong.
care if you're atheist,
no,
Christian,
no,
Muslim, Hindi, whatever, Buddhist. Wrong is wrong.
It is wrong. It's wrong on multiple levels.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying, I wasn't offended by it. I wasn't necessarily disturbed.
I was upset by it.
I wasn't even disturbed by it. I just felt like there was a line that just didn't need to be crossed.
Exactly.
And I get shit every day like, oh, you watch a Serbian film. That's a film that has a baby raped in it. There's child rape and all this stuff. But it's all done through suggestion. It's all with practical effects.
Exactly.
The children are not in situations that expose them.
Think about...
They shoot them like on their own, and then in the video editing software, they make it look like that's happening. That is magic of film. What she did is not.
It's not film. And she's like...
Well, no, it is film, but it's a specific type of film.
It's not art, is it?
It's the kind of film that the people in a Serbian film were making. So let's get it right, guys.
In the what do you think of the behind the scenes footage where...
Problematic.
She says, I mean, she did say she was talking to these girls. I can't find the quote.
You said it was something like that she interviewed 600 children and got them to twerk for her over a 2-year period.
Which is kind of weird.
And who funded that?
Like, I don't know.
Because that would have. But the thing is, usually, like from my perspective as a filmmaker, I've never had to fund for casting because most people in my situation, where you're trying to work your way up in the film industry, you do things in like you rent a room and you do a casting call, people come and you yada yada all that stuff. But when you do a professional movie, a casting director puts out a specific brief, and you are hiring spaces at multiple times to do this. So you're telling me a film studio, the producers, the directors, all of these people got together and thought, let's get 600 kids in here and gyrate.
Let them twerk for us.
Yeah, and we're filming, and I guarantee they would have filmed it as well.
That's very strange.
Because if the director can't...
What's happened to all that footage?
Exactly. If the director can't be in the room for whatever reason, that would be recorded and sent to her.
Do you know what? I do feel like there will be clips of this movie floating around porn sites.
I'm curious to see if that is the case, but the thing is as well, if you go on Twitter,
I do feel like people are going to do that. There are pedophiles out there.
But you don't even need to do that. It's on Twiter.
Yes.
All of those sequences are being like exposed on Twitter.
But the thing is, there are going to be some pedophiles who don't have Netflix subscriptions.
They will get Netflix subscription.
Well, they'll get it now, but I mean, but they're going to find them on porn sites. And that for me is what makes me, I think, the saddest is like these children. Listen to this. It says, I don't know who Yusuf is, but maybe the actress. It says in this article in Refinery 29, it says, Yusuf and her co-stars radiate a strange sort of dual energy. In some shots, they look like children, disgusted and laughing at a porn clip they find on the internet. In others, they seem alarmingly adult, their sexy tops revealing flat chests as they nonetheless try to seduce a group of older teenage boys with provocative bravado. What do you think about that?
But I'm with Ricky Gervais here. All of these people in Hollywood seem to be pushing things that are incredibly dodgy.
Yeah. It is very dodgy. The fact that people are okay with Cuties being out there. What did Netflix say?
Okay, so this was the statement what Netflix said the other day. It said, Cuties is a social commentary against the sexualization of young children. It's an award-winning film. That means it's okay. An award-winning film and a powerful story of the pressure young girls face on social media and from society more generally growing up. So hang on a minute. There was never elements about social media pressure. She was just uploading things.
She was the one
She knew how to do it. It was never explained or, you know.
She actually didn't, they didn't show anything about her being on social media.
Or having an audience or any of that stuff or interacting with them.
No.
No, exactly.
Nothing. Not even in school. Nothing.
And we'd encourage anyone who cares about these important issues to watch the film. So yeah, don't know about the controversy, but just watch it either way.
What was the statement they made after the trailer was released? They said, we know that certain...
It's been taken out of context and we made a mistake.
But then they didn't apologize.
No, they've not apologized
They said certain things will not please people. Like, we know not everyone has sort of the same... Basically, what I'm going to say is, like, to paraphrase, just put my own words there, is they said, we know some people don't like this kind of film, and that's okay. That's basically what they said, in my opinion. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. But this is also a company that has a film, I think it was made from Italy, which I do intend to watch this weekend, just to confirm that I'm not talking a load of poo. A 9-year-old wanks in pretty graphic detail.
Dear God.
I don't know if the actor is 9 years old, but from what I've read online, still a bit dodgy.
Yeah. It
seems to be, there's a lot of common themes running through these.
Do you know what? What makes it okay to do this? I know it's 2020, we are liberal and we are...
There's nothing wrong with being liberal. I'm a classic liberal, by the way.
And that's the thing, though, is like you can have your own opinion and be free. We're in a free, sexually free society and all of that stuff. But wrong is wrong. Please, guys, these are children. They don't even know. They're just learning about sexual anatomy in school.
Well, no, they would have learned at 5 at this point in society now, because there are, like, and this would probably be a good episode down the line.
Yeah.
There are lots of backlash in Birmingham and other communities, particularly within the Asian community, that do not want these LGBT things pushed into school.
Yes.
And in theory, like, usually I would go against this and say, you know, religion, blah, 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 because I'm a spiritual atheist, even though that's not really a thing, because you can't really be spiritual and be atheist at the same time.
You know what? You're allowed to be searching.
You're
allowed to be searching.
I was christened, and supposedly, if I'm going to follow down the routes of my fellow black comrade Kanye West, I'll probably end up praising Jesus and all the rest of it later down the line. But
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Suck my cock, bitches.
But I do feel like there is this push to corrupt and take away this thing that children have at a very young age, which is this innocence. And also that they don't look at the world in a this or that way. They just see most times the best things, and sometimes even better than best things. They see the world more beautifully than we can possibly ever consider doing it. And I'm thankful still to this day. I have that quality, even in the darkest of darks. Yeah. I still have that innocent spark that, you know, I look for the best in people.
It's like a childlike faith.
It is. Because this is the reason where I think, like, a lot of people in this day and age do not listen to each other, but they listen to respond. Because ultimately, if you actually listen to what someone says and take, I don't know, a few minutes out of your day to actually process what someone says,
analyze it,
you actually can learn something.
Exactly. You
know, and it's not. I'm not just preaching to the choir, but it does. You can be like a hardcore lefty, like Corbyn and all that stuff, but you can still have a common ground with someone that completely opposite and may like Trump. I don't know. And
share a coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just be civil to one another. I don't know. I do feel like I kind of did something yesterday where I wasn't meant to cross the road. It was in the wrong place.
She black.
But I did it anyway. I was being rebellious. I'm like,
privilege.
you know what? I will walk. Okay, I'm a queen.
Yeah, there you go. It's that Beyonce thing
and
right there.
I had a child with me. You see what I mean? It's like, okay, so they will stop for me. This guy did not stop. In fact, I feel like he accelerated.
What color was he?
He was white.
He white.
And I was like...
low-key racist.
I was like... he didn't stop. He really didn't stop, and he nearly hit us.
But did you push the button for crossing?
The thing is, it wasn't a crossing place.
No. Don't do the woman thing of getting yourself out of it. Just answer the simple question.
No.
Were you in the wrong, yes or no?
I was in the wrong.
But so you crossed the road jaywalking?
Yes, I was jaywalking.
See, I have no sympathy for you.
I did want him to stop, though. I thought he was going to stop. And he didn't. And he started to yell at me, and I think he called me an idiot. I was like, no, but you should have stopped. And I'm like, but what made me feel like he should have stopped? Because he was a man and I'm a woman? Or is it because... And then I thought to myself also, like, did he not stop because I'm black?
What a wonderful world.
But then I stopped myself from thinking like that because I'm like, wait, you were wrong. You were wrong. I was wrong. And I endangered the life of a child.
So you're as bad as the director of Cuties. And that's what we'll end this episode on. So in our closing statement, do you think this film should be released, yes or no?
No.
Why should it not be released?
Because it's a porno.
But wouldn't you rather this be released and expose these idiots that are making these movies so that in future these sort of films don't get made?
I am glad that this one was released.
So am I.
But I do feel like it should be used as an example about the limits of what we can and cannot do.
Yeah, we've reached a whole new low.
That's the thing, though, is like, I know we're in a world where people are like, I don't want rules, I don't want boundaries, but I do feel like there are boundaries that should not be crossed.
The best work has always been made with limits.
Exactly.
And even the most offensive films of all time, they still work within the confines of a certain limit.
Exactly.
So what are we going to talk about next episode?
Okay, the next episode...
That's if anybody even listens.
I think people will listen.
Gets lost in the void of everything else on YouTube.
Okay, what we want our podcast to do is, again, unite people without being divisive. You say divisive, I say divisive.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying it like you.
Tomatoes.
Tomato. Without being divisive, okay, we want people to just be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about without, cancelling each other.
So maybe we either talk about cancel culture or we talk about what the real culture war is.
Yes.
Which isn't black versus
black
white.
Or white.
It's actually sexuality and religion.
Which is also very, very, this whole black and white situation excludes every other race out there, which annoys me because I've got friends who are like, where is my voice going to be heard? Like my Indian friends are like,
we've got a chair
what can
possibly
I say?
there. We've got a chair here. We can bring you all on.
My cabbie was like, I want to be on your podcast.
Well, next time we get you delivered by taxi, we will bring the cabbie in at least for a cameo. So peace and lots of love, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
Yay. Are we done? That was fun.